My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name's Kay Ross.
And you're listening to Best Quality Vacuum. It is the Duckfeed show about Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul.
And welcome to the Consequences Zone, baby.
Yeah, it's TV peak. But in the eyes of many.
Yeah.
It's all downhill from here. What is the point of covering lesser TV shows after this episode?
Oh, I mean, there's all kinds of art out there.
I know. I know the real answer to that. It's just funny that there is a number attached to this.
Yes.
That calls it the best TV show episode of all time.
Yeah. It's really good. There's a lot of television that I haven't seen, Gary.
There's none that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
And I consider this to be more or less somewhere between the Adventure Time finale and the Adventure Time episode where Tree Trunks gets married. You know, in terms of...
It ranks somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you as the king of all television.
Yes.
Declaring.
We're in Ozymandias now. Mm-hmm. We've been waiting. Here it is.
Yeah. This was written by Maura Wally-Beckett and directed by Ryan Johnson, the Fly himself. And it originally aired on September the 15th of 2013.
Yeah. And we're just in the climax now where every episode is a cliffhanger to the next one. Mm-hmm. This is the payoff and cliffhanger to a bunch of things in the series.
Yes.
This is where things finally turn for Walt.
Yeah.
Everything falls down. Walt gets his.
Sowing, reaping, etc.
Yes. Coming back home with 9 swords. Mm-hmm. Pick up immediately after that firefight at the end of Tahajali.
Yeah.
And in this episode, big fucking things happen. Jack kills Hank.
Yeah.
Things keep spiraling out of control. Jesse, my fucking boy.
Like every single time when Walt points him out, just like, I know that's happening, but I'm not ready for it.
It's interesting. We'll get into it when we talk about the scene, but Vince Gilligan has interesting things to say about that whole bit.
Yeah. So we alluded to this. This is one of the most celebrated episodes of all time. I do not know that I've encountered anybody who even says this is overrated. At least genuinely. Yeah.
It's very good. Like it is a great episode of TV. It's a lot of payoff.
Yeah.
For things, and there were some contrivances to get us here, but the way everything makes sense feels really good.
I was talking with my stepmom about this, and we were talking about just the ways that different shows wrapped up, and like saying like, Breaking Bad is a show that like wrapped up. And like, that is like, this was kind of on the like leading edge of that not being something you could guarantee.
Yeah. Prestige TV didn't do it for a while.
Yeah.
And still, I don't know if it does it.
Yeah.
My kind of like, I want to watch things when they're done thing comes from that.
Yeah.
What if something's just going to get abandoned? Fucking sucks. Can I have it? This show, sticking to the vision, this idea of like, I'm telling a complete story is really powerful, I think, in terms of its lasting appeal.
Yeah.
There are shows that do really cool shit, and do things that I think are less conventional and probably a little bit more ambitious than Breaking Bad does. But Breaking Bad's a complete story.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with that, in terms of art. Like, good art ends.
Yeah. Please. For the love of God.
At least in terms of narratives, right? Like you can have artfulness on the way to it, but in terms of a narrative, like narrative's complete.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like the personnel in this episode was kind of by chance. Maura Wally-Beckett got this episode just as a matter of luck of the draw. Like before they even know what the shape of the season's going to be, they kind of say, all right, you're going to be directing or writing this particular episode. And Ryan Johnson was not initially attached to direct this.
Yes. Their original director fell through, but Johnson, they liked his work on the previous series, and we all know Ryan Johnson. Yeah. Did a Star Wars, and prior to that did a bunch of cool movies.
Yeah.
Even though there's an awful quote, Guillermo del Toro wanted to direct this episode very badly. I always find that detail about this weird. Yeah. It's just kind of like, hey, Vince, what about Guillermo?
What if I bring my creature sensibilities to this?
I'm imagining Hank as a pulsating mood sack, And he wanted to do it. He didn't get a chance to do it. And Ryan Johnson said, yeah, sorry, I'm the one who gets to fuck the prom queen.
I didn't read.
I fucking hate that line.
I didn't read boastfulness into that, but if that is if that was at all what was happening there, then that is fucking terrible.
It might be like self-effacing boastfulness. It's just a gross fucking term for directing an episode of TV. Man, this is the book. This is the brass ring. It reminds me in Detroiters when they're talking about how much crackheads love crack. They're like, oh yeah, it's the brass ring for them. It's like their ultimate goal. He's just kind of going into like, I get to fuck the prom queen in terms of this. Like, fuck the prom queen's a gross phrase.
I don't like that very much.
Get to fuck. I don't like it. The whole thing, gross. Gross, Ryan Johnson.
Not
Go
great.
direct a fucking Star Wars. Get off my screen. You betrayed me, Ryan Johnson.
You betrayed me.
I'll always remember the Ryan Johnson, Looper, and Brick.
Yeah.
The brothers Bloom, and now you're just this fucking Star Wars to me. Get dicked.
At the very least, Johnson is humble about like his contribution to all of this.
Yeah.
Like he gives Wally Beckett a lot of credit. Like she got to oversee the final cut on this, and it's like, yeah, no, just like this is as much her as it is me.
And the opportunity to say to Guillermo del Toro, like something like that, like I can kind of understand the opportunity to give him shit. Because how's Guillermo del Toro's creature sensibility is going to react to that?
I don't know.
Like he's going to hold up his palms with eyes in them and shit. It's be weird. I like Guillermo del Toro's work just fine. It would just be a very strange. It would feel like a stunt, like a stunt directing kind of thing. Yeah, they can't get Pappy McBoyle on the shit. So let's get into it.
Let's. We open on a flashback. That takes place in the same location as we're gonna, begin. Walt and Jesse are in the RV cooking, and Walt is over explaining the process, wearing his underwear. This is season 1. This is the first cook.
Yeah. And this is the final shot for the series. A few months after the episode wrapped up, everybody got to go back into season 1 mode.
Yeah.
Here they go outside and we see, this context we didn't see before, which is Walt coming up with a cover story.
Yes.
This is showing us, even this early on, this was always part of his crapulence. This idea, kind of regardless of how justified anything he's doing is, the idea of deceiving his wife is always part of it.
Yes.
And it's always been a rehearsed thing. He's rehearsing it. I'm coming home late. He calls Skylar. This is season 1 Skylar. She's packing up eBay stuff. Remember when Skylar did that? Yeah, she made like $3 on eBay in the first episode. She says something like, "I bought this for $6 and I sold it for $10," or something like that. Real small ball shit. Season 1 author. Yeah. Skylar used to have a lot of hats.
She did. Yeah. I love Walt workshopping different lines to explain why Bogdan is being, just like, oh, he's got to bug up his ass. Oh, he's got to stick up his ass. Like him just seeing how each of those phrases ring to him.
Yeah. So it can sound natural. So he can believe the lie.
Yes. Yeah. And this is where they have the conversation. Like, even during the pilot, they were talking about the name for the baby, like, how do you feel about Holly? Oh, it feels right. Like that's definitely a front runner.
Yep. Yeah. And they're going to say, oh, we're going to go out for the weekend. And then Jesse, Walt, and the RV fade away one by one.
Yeah.
And we're just in the same spot in the desert.
Yeah.
This is, I ordinarily don't like this kind of time shenanigans, but I like this, this is how far we've come.
Yes. Yeah.
We didn't talk about it because it felt obvious to come, but the episode name, Ozymandias, is from the poem.
Yeah, the Percy by Shelley poem. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a big promo for this where it was Bryan Cranston reading it, and a lot of gravitas and everything. Yeah. But the big takeaway, if you're not a big Shelley head, is look upon my works, ye mighty in despair, but it's pathetic.
Yeah.
Ozymandias, it's all crumbled. It's all nothing.
Yeah. All that's left is the feet of the statue. He thought that his empire would last forever. But it is just his words showing that it is a lie and that no person, however great, can make something that will last like that.
And here we see it, where we cut to this gunfire here and we see kind of what's happened in between the episodes. Yeah. Hank is wounded. He's been hit in the leg, and Gomi's dead.
Yes.
Off screen. Hank starts crawling for his shotgun, but the Nazis have him on the ropes.
Yes.
There.
They approach, and Todd's looking for Jesse, but can't find him. You know, Jesse was kind of hiding in the SUV, and now he's gone.
Yep, he's hidden somewhere else.
Yeah.
They pull up the badges, find out these guys are DEA, and Jack is about to summarily execute them.
Yeah.
But Walt freaks out, starts screaming, and Walt basically has to confess. You know, he's family. He's my brother-in-law. And Jack just like, you didn't think to tell us that you have a brother-in-law in the DEA. You know, like, you fucked up. What the hell is going on here? It doesn't seem like you guys are getting along now.
No. And Walt tries saying, like, hey, I called you off. You're not supposed to be here.
Yep. And it doesn't matter. Again, Walt's flaw that he thinks he can control these dogs. You know, and he tells Hank, and the performance here is incredible.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
Like every performance in this episode is incredible. But him pleading with Hank to join him on his level of like, join me in the talking can fix everything zone, please.
Yeah, please grovel, right?
Yeah, go into my world, right? Like, he's been in this situation before with Gus.
Yeah.
You know, Walt has been here. He knows to him what works. You know, please join me in this reality where like this can be talked out of. And Jack's not having it.
No.
You know, it's a DEA agent. He fucking shot him.
Yeah.
You know, he's not going to get away with it.
Yeah. Saw our faces.
Yeah. Saw our faces. Like, there's no way where this guy lives. And then Walt plays what he thinks is his final card.
Yes.
You know, I will give you all of my money. This is really noteworthy because the whole threat that brought him out here was to losing all of his money.
Yes.
And now that he sees the actual consequences of this, the stakes of the game that he's been playing this entire time that he felt were not on the table, actually.
Yeah.
He's willing to give it up.
Yes.
You know, he was not willing to give it up for, you know, for Jesse or for, you know, not coming out to the desert and possibly shooting Jesse and getting him killed. But he's willing to do it here, and it is way too late.
So too late. He is dangling this, and the train has already left the station. He does not have anything that he can play.
Yep. And it's Jack, you know, because Jack's got a sense of humor. He goes, what do you think, Fed? You take that deal? You know, and Walt goes, no, his name is Hank.
Yeah.
And then I love, again, I hate handing it to Jack constantly in this, but he goes, okay, Hank. Like, he doesn't give a shit about this little symbolic thing.
No.
You know, this little, what do you think, Hank? Would you take that deal? And Hank says, you know, my name is Asac Schrader, and you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And Jack's kind of into it. Like, that's good. Walt's begging him still, you know, crying like, please, Hank, please.
Yeah.
And Hank's, you know, has his last line, like, you're the smartest guy I ever met, but you're too stupid to see. He made up his mind 10 minutes ago. Do what you got to do.
Ozymandias.
Yeah.
So like just the contrast between Hank and Walt, and, you know, like even just like the playing around with the name kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is he Walt? Is he Heisenberg or whatever? And it goes from Fed to Hank to even in death, knowing that he is going to die, you know, down here still on the ground, like Hank is standing tall in his title, right?
Yeah. You know, no, I made it this way. And Hank has made, you know, we don't really get what's going through Hank's head in this that much, but Hank has also made tactical errors with this shit.
Yes.
You know, like, Hank has underestimated Walt, or he wouldn't be here on the ground shot.
Right.
As a thing, and him ignoring the process, kind of like not telling anybody about this, you know, all of that kind of tightrope he's been walking.
Yeah.
You know, it turns out that is also a misgamble here.
Yeah.
But he's shot. It's a really big deal. I remember it genuinely being surprising.
Yeah.
You know, one of the more major characters, it's like the end of the series, but one of the more major characters to die in a long running serious drama like this.
Yeah. Just the kind of almost like a what is it, the deuteragonist almost?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like the conflict between Hank and Walt has been built up the entire series, right?
At the very least this season, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'd say the deuteragonist for this season. Like, I'd put Jesse there prior to this, but like, and we get the stunt push. You know, the Hitchcock push.
Yeah.
And on Walt, I love that this series does not overuse that kind of bullshit.
Yes.
That stuff is neat. You can't deploy it lightly.
No, it can't all be star wipes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Walt fucking devastated.
Yeah.
It's over.
Him just pitching down and kind of staying at that angle. just completely unable to move, but that anguish just fixed on his face. Like it dwells on that. Like this is the end.
Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Jack says, those coordinates, that's pretty weird that you gave us GPS coordinates for this. Kenny, check that out.
Yeah.
They grab a shovel out of Hank's car and they dig down and they find the barrels.
Yes.
Fucking Nazis. They're going to steal the money.
Yeah, of course, because they know there's money here.
Yeah.
Guess what? You lost your family. You lost Hank. Yeah.
There's a great parallel to this next episode when the when the disappearer, he's like, would you believe me if I told you I would? And it's so good as a thing. So we cut to some time later. All the barrels are out. There's just this shallow grave for Hank and Gomi. This gets beautifully paralleled in Better Call Saul as well.
Yes.
Walt is just lying there, still in shock. Until he spots Jesse.
Yep.
Under the Chrysler hiding.
Yeah.
There.
And Jack says, all right, well, here's the deal. Tells Kenny, leave a barrel. And Kenny's like, wait a minute, that's like $11 million. And Jack, Jesus, what's all the greed here? It's unattractive.
They showed Todd talking to him first. This is Todd's doing.
Yeah.
Hey, leave him with a little bit of the money. Todd uncuffs him. I love Todd. I'm sorry for your loss. Here. And Jack lays it out. Like, listen, my nephew respects you. So I'm not going to kill you.
Yeah.
You got to get away. Here's the thing. If we can't drive away with no hard feelings, things are going to go differently.
Yes.
We're going to have to go that other way. Shake on it. And the second time he has to shake with this guy who killed his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Previously he had to look down and shake the Nazi's hand to kill his, surrogate son.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just fucking crawl through the supplicant door.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah. And it just, Jack fully in control here. And Walt's, the handshake makes him remember the deal. And this is just purely out of spite. This is just to bring Jesse in for his role in this.
It's revenge.
It's revenge. Yeah. Saying, Pinkman, you still owe me. Like, I paid you. You need to kill Pinkman.
I love this bit where Jack says, all right, you tell us where he's at. We'll take care of it. If we can find him, we'll do it. And he's like, I found him.
Yeah.
He points to him hiding under the car. They drag him here. Again, wonderful performance.
Yeah.
Aaron Paul, like the nose, and they just put a gun to his head.
Yeah.
They're just going to take care of him. Jesse looks up. He sees two buzzards flying through the sky. But Todd, a little mousetrap in his head. He's thinking about it.
Yeah. Saying like, hey, wait a minute. We need to keep him alive. He was talking to these guys. We don't know what they know. It's like, and we got history. He says like, oh, I can make them talk.
I can make them talk. We got history.
Yeah.
Fucking chilling stuff. Walt agrees. Gives a nod. As they're dragging Jesse off, Walt lays a big bomb on him. This is the thing that Vince Gilligan talks about. Vince Gilligan says this is the only act, and that's worth thinking about, that Walt does for purely, there's no other justification for it.
Yeah.
This is pure spite.
Yeah.
This is pure malice. He tells Jesse, hey, I watched Jane die. I was there and I watched her die. I watched her overdose and choke to death. I could have saved her, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And this just sucks all of the resistance out of Jesse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Puts him in this state of shell shock. Things are going to get so much worse, and like, it's one of those things where this is a horrible thing to do.
Yes.
Obviously, like huge act of emotional violence. It's just kind of a coinky dinky was there.
Yeah.
If he hadn't been there, Jane just would have died anyway. Or like, in a long enough timeline, they probably would have died.
Yeah.
Kind of regardless.
Yeah. And just like, I had the power to, to keep this person in your life, that I didn't. Yeah. It's
a big deal, but it's not, I just kind of, I don't know how to explain what I'm saying. It is just, it's not as impactful it doesn't feel as impactful as everything that's going to happen.
Right.
In terms of Walt crimes, it feels lesser.
I almost want to be a lawyer and say like, hey, don't talk in extremes. Like never say most, never say worst, never say best. because like the way that I had read this was, like this is the worst thing that that Walt does in Vince Gilligan's mind is to twist this knife
because of the motivation.
Yeah,
being the thing being only purely selfish, and I get that too for sure. But it's just in terms of. Like it's more passive than a lot of things he's done.
Yeah,
I guess.
This is also like, I don't know, like maybe it's not that like, okay, this is the only thing he did that doesn't have a justification. This is the only thing that he couldn't even make up one for.
Yeah. And or chose not to. This idea that he's not even doing the fig leaf.
Yeah.
Is almost adding knife twists to it. I'm not going to, Jesse didn't need to know this. This is one of the only things he's totally gotten away with.
Yes. Yeah.
Like he didn't need to make up a story because he was cooking when he let Jane die. You got to hand it to him. Like he got away with that 100%.
He did. There was no reason for him for anybody to ever know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioning that makes this worth talking about because again, we know how the series goes. It's been out there, 12 years. But like at the time, basically like every episode, whenever something came up, whenever there was like tension or conflict between Walt and Jesse, people were saying, oh, is this when it's going to come out? Is this when Jesse is going to learn? And like really the last time that this ever came up was during Fly, way back in season 3, when Walt is on the, is on the sleeping pills or whatever, and it seems like it's going to come out and then it doesn't. Jesse had stopped looking. Yeah. Right. And so like, this is kind of, it's a, coming in from the rafters with a steel chair almost.
It's definitely that. And then from a plot construction point, it's kind of one of the guns that hasn't fired.
Yes.
They kind of had to deploy this at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
It would be unsatisfying if Jesse never found out as a thing. It's this completely breaking Jesse when, Brock made him furious.
Yes.
As a thing. And now he's about to be taken in and Walt just sold him out into Nazi slavery. Like, it just feels a little passive to me. Like it's got a nice dramatic weight to it.
It does.
It's not, I'm not really complaining about it. It's just kind of why it doesn't feel the slam dunk.
Yeah.
But it's a comfortable 3-pointer.
Yes.
I don't know basketball.
It's a free throw. It's a layup.
It's not a slam dunk, but it is a 3-pointer. That's lesser somehow, but I don't understand why.
It's a touchdown.
Yeah, it's not a 3-pointer, but it is a touchdown. It is a slap shot.
Yeah. So the Nazis drive away. They've got Jesse. They have their meth slave. They tow Hank's SUV away. They're gonna, part that out, right? And Walt is left alone with his one barrel of money, and his brother-in-law and his partner, 3 feet down.
Yeah, buried. He starts driving his SUV away, and the car breaks down. It runs out of gas.
Yeah.
The gas tank was hit. He leaks.
Yeah.
So he has to get out and just roll his money through the desert for untold miles.
Yes.
Absolutely huge McTeague.
Yeah,
energy, like huge chain to the golden tooth in the middle of nowhere.
If you didn't bring up McTeague, I was going to, not because I read it, but because whenever a situation like this comes up, you do tend to.
You know what? My teacher was cooking, making us read McTeague. It's a horrible book. I hated reading it, but being chained to the desert to a gigantic gold tooth is a useful, cultural touch point. Good job, Mr. Schrader.
Good job. Huh, Schrader.
Yeah. I think it was Mr. Schrader, maybe Schroeder. So he does this, and he sees a Navajo man's house.
Yes.
And he's out there, offers to buy his truck. It's not for sale. And he just offers a huge stack of cash.
Yes.
Yeah. Everything is for sale.
He has a truck now, and we're out of the desert. We are back into the real world, right? Everything on the desert kind of feels free floating and unattached, but there are people waiting,
Yep.
And we see this. Marie walks into the car wash. Skylar's leaving a message for Walt, hasn't heard from him in a very long time, left on this, very panicked note. And Marie hugs Junior.
Yep. Takes Skylar in and says, listen, it's over. Mm-hmm. Hank has arrested Walt with Jesse's help. I almost didn't want to come, but I remember how much you resisted him. I have hope for you. I will help you.
We're still sisters. Yeah.
We're still sisters on the condition that I get every copy of that horrible DVD you made, and you need to tell Junior everything.
She needs to be the one. Yeah.
Yep. Skylar resists this, and she's like, if you don't tell him, I will.
Yeah.
But he needs to know everything.
While she's doing this, sometime later, we get a little cutaway here. Jesse wakes up in what is going to be his home. Kind of the bottom of this. It looks like a storm drain pit, like a cistern kind of thing. Has like a grating at the top. Yeah.
Fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And he's been beat the shit out of.
Yes.
Like he's taken another Jesse Pinkman style beat down.
Yeah.
Todd pulls the cover away, blinding Jesse with sun. And Jesse is saying, I don't know anything else. You just get the tape. I don't know anything else. He thinks he's going to be tortured more.
Yeah. Yeah.
For information. But Todd just leads him up to the lab in cuffs and chains him to the ceiling harness rack thing that is used for like big dogs.
Yeah.
Jesse walks over the wall and he sees the subtle message for Todd. He's got a picture of Andrea and Brock there. Again, and Walt did this inadvertently by cluing them in on this.
And Todd says, "Let's cook." Like this is the value. This is where we're going to get the percentage up.
Yep, this is the situation for you. Horrible.
The shoe drops for Junior.
Yep.
And Junior kind of doesn't believe it. This is too big of a truth to take in all at once. Yeah.
I really like that they didn't show him learning it. We just get his reaction.
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah. Because it would have been tedious. So he does not believe it.
No.
And he's trying to poke holes in the story. Like why would you go along? Why did this happen? And Skylar says, I'll be asking myself that for the rest of my life. And he still doesn't buy it. He demands to talk to his dad.
Yeah. So pulls out his phone. He's like, I'm calling Uncle Hank, right? Like we need to, to see if he's arresting him. And Marie says like, hey, you just need to try to breathe. I love this. Junior saying, breathe? You want me to breathe? And Skylar's destroyed, right?
Yeah. It's horrible. Yeah. Everything's over for her as well.
Yes.
Walt goes home. He starts filling up luggage, with family clothes, starts packing. Skylar and Flynn are also going home.
Yeah.
Skylar tells Flynn to put on a seatbelt and he says, if this is all true and you knew about it, then you're as bad as him.
Yeah.
And they are very surprised to find Walt home. Yeah. Last they heard he was arrested.
Here's this strange rundown pickup truck. And, they come in and he's urging them, hey, grab anything that's important. We need to go.
We need to go now. He's going to take his whole family to the disappearer.
Yeah.
Is the plan. But Skylar stands up to him. Walt, why are you here? And Walt goes, no, I negotiated. I got out of it. And she won't accept it.
No. She there's only one explanation for why Walt would be here, and I think she's trying to get him to say it. Just like it means we're fine. Everything's going to be fine, but we need to leave right now.
You need to trust me. And Skylar is getting furious. Hey, where's Hank?
Yeah.
Where's Hank? Walt is dodging this question.
Yes.
He's not answering it. He says, listen, I have all of this money. We can have entirely fresh new lives. Until she finally says it. Oh, you killed him.
Yes. And Junior hears this, and that's the last straw.
Yeah. Well, it's the last straw, but the extra straw is that Walt can't deny it.
Right.
This is the first time he's ever been confronted directly with something like this. And it's interesting because he didn't kill him.
No.
Not technically, he got him killed, right? I'm not trying to split hairs.
Yeah.
But this being the final straw, not being a literal murder he's done. When Walt says I tried to save him, he got him in this situation. He's responsible. Yeah. Not trying to let him off the hook for that. He did try to save him. He didn't want this to happen is what he's trying to say.
Yes. Yeah. They don't know about the Nazis, right? They don't, as far as they know, the only actors here are Walt and Hank. Right.
And so Jesse, this would have been a great time for him to explain the Nazis. Listen,
all right.
I know it seems weird.
So the tenets of National Socialism.
Yes. Controversial. However, they're kind of nice guys. And
really square dealers. You would have to meet them.
Dealers.
They have this clubhouse.
They got this clubhouse. They got this kid. I like this kid. shows me a lot of respect. You saw him. He was on Friday Night Lights.
Yeah. When I say that this is the last straw, like Junior plausibly could be like, okay, what the fuck is this? Just like, I can't believe this. But knowing that Hank is gone, there is no denial. And, the only thing falling to be that, Walt is the one who killed him. Walt has lost Junior forever at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Once he believes it. And then once he sees what's happening here.
Yeah.
Junior follows him back into the bedroom. The scene is so chaotic.
Oh my God.
This is something Rian Johnson's really good at.
It's constant screaming, constant movement.
Yep. Really, really hard to watch. Walt comes back to kind of try to force Skylar into it, and she grabs a knife from the knife block that we've seen.
Yeah.
And tells Walt to get out. She's had enough. Walt takes a step forward and she slashes his hand, cuts him real good.
Yeah.
And they start fighting. They start wrestling for the knife.
So fucking hard to watch.
It's really hard. Flynn just saying, stop it. Like, it's very well observed. That is, until he pulls Walt off his mom here. And then we get a line that I think is 10% too on the nose.
Little bit, yeah.
Like, it's the one thing that makes me, all this Perfect 10 television thing earlier we were talking about. Like, I don't think this is perfect because of this line. If anything, is what the hell's wrong with you? We're a family. That's a little too darkly ironic for me.
A little bit. Yeah.
Just a little bit. It's not horrible, but it's a little bit like for the cheap seats.
A little bit. Yeah. We're a family. Him insisting this, even though it couldn't be less true at this moment. It hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah. But this is when he realizes as well, him saying that, like, Walt realized, I can't pull back from this.
Right.
Flynn pulls out a phone and calls 911. Yeah, my dad pulled a knife on my mom. He might have killed somebody. And to Walt, it's over. It's fucking over. And he takes the last thing he can think of is to grab Holly.
Yes.
Like, this is the one member of my family I still have. Grabs Holly, goes out to the truck. Skylar's running after him, screaming, pounding on their windows, but he just drives away.
Yeah.
He has now kidnapped a baby.
A little bit of child napping. Just a bit.
Yeah.
He's
got a baby.
No M plan.
No.
Yeah.
No, but he has now gained baby and he can use it for all the puzzles later.
And just rubbing baby up against every other object that he finds.
You got to pick up everything. It's like how this truck is one of the unlockables if you pre-order the game.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, Walt's just playing the game.
Yeah. The iconic Ozymandias mobile.
Yeah. The Ozymandias truck complete with Holly.
But yeah. Just like that, like what? That's probably 7 minutes of just completely stacked action from
in the least derogatory term ever, like shrill.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels like an alarm going off the whole time. It's what I imagine working at McDonald's is like. Like how there's a million different food alarms going off all the time.
Different beepers. I love that it takes place in the house.
Yeah.
There have been all kinds of times when the sanctum has been violated, right? It's going to be violated next episode. But that everything crumbles here, I think is important. Yeah.
And then the knife. Yep. That they've been showing the knife for a little bit.
Yeah.
The knife has to come into play.
It does.
We cut to Walt. He is changing Holly's diaper in a public restroom, and he's wrapped up his hand with duct tape.
Yeah.
She starts crying, and she keeps saying "Mama" over and over. This was an amazing little bit of kismet.
Yes. Yeah.
This happened. This was the actress, the baby actress, doing this.
Because her mom, was on stage present, standing behind Cranston. And she just said, "Mama, Mama," and they didn't plan it. Like, she was originally just supposed to be, crying. He was supposed to have this, but here, possibly Holly's first words. Being Mama, causing that to be the realization that, like, there's no future here. Yeah, it's pretty perfect. Yeah, like what a blessing for the people making, for Rian Johnson to have this on the happen. It's perfect in a way that, what the hell is wrong with you? You're a family wants to be. Yeah. And who knows how much of it is the context that it happened on accident. That's a natural thing. Yeah. But it feels realer than that. And it encompasses the same idea. Yeah. Like it in a pretty great way, like giving lie to this idea that there's any connection between them at all. Yeah. The police are over at the White House, putting out their Amber Alert. And Maria's there, and Maria's still kind of in shock. Yeah. About this thing. Like, oh, you had him in handcuffs. How did this happen? Yeah.
And Walt calls. The police encourage Skylar to pick up and says, act normal. And Walt does like this final act of kindness.
Yeah.
This is a great scene.
Yeah. I love this so much. Not just the stillness on Anna Gunn's face, like during the course of this, like the way that she very subtly reveals that she understands what's going on, and Walt in between playing this character, being the outright abusive husband, as opposed to what he's been this entire time. What the hell were you thinking? You're always whining and complaining about how I make my money. Just again playing the part to try and put as much distance between them as possible.
Yeah, you knew nothing about it. Sure, you were ignorant of everything, ignorant of crimes, even.
In between this, like the performance, is going through just fine, but in between,
he's crying, he's weeping,
he's sobbing, and then just doing that, taking that break in composure break before he comes back to it and delivers it again is such a great inversion of all of the other lies, right? He's finally, all he can do is lie, and he can't actually express what he really feels in this moment.
And it's for good.
Yeah.
It's to a noble end, incredible, again, great use of irony here. And just his performance and Anna Gunn's performance during this, fucking incredible. Skylar figures, and you got a note here, this is true. There are people who do not understand this.
Yes.
What is happening. You get a lot of, looking through wikis and TV tropes, you get to learn about a lot of people who don't have media literacy.
Yes.
In kind of a general sense. We talked about in the last episode, the people who are like, why didn't Hank take the deal? Hank should have begged Jack, and then they would have all gone on their happy way.
Yeah.
I imagine those same people struggle with the, subtext of this.
Yes. If I would be a little bit more sympathetic to that if I knew anybody who had that misunderstanding or tried to.
It is weird, right?
Yeah.
They have to exist because somebody's writing this stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
But I've never met any of them.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, it seems pretty clear. This is pure monsterism, saying, you stupid bitch, how dare you? Skylar playing along, I'm sorry. The fact that he is sobbing in the middle of this, this is not what he wants to be doing, but this is, the Heisenberg lie resolving of its own momentum. Right.
Yeah. He continue, you didn't know about the crimes. I built everything, not you. Toe the line, you're going to wind up like Hank. And Marie looks up. Here. And she says, what happened to Hank? And he can barely choke it out. You're never going to see Hank again.
Yeah.
Marie absolutely shatters. He crossed me. You think about that. Family or no. If you cross me, this is what's going to happen to you. And Walt can barely hold this together. It's, again, very good.
Yes.
Skylar says, listen, I just want Holly back. Please come home.
Yeah.
He's, I've still got things to do, but he intends on giving Holly back.
Yeah.
He looks in on Holly on the truck, and then leaves her at the fire department. This is a thing you could do.
Yep. You can
babies can be deposited at fire departments if you didn't know that.
They can. It's fire departments and police stations, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one other that you wouldn't expect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's post offices, especially if they're closed. It's Albertsons. I imagine that people do fire departments more because then you don't get a lot of questions.
Yeah, yeah.
The police one, that's like a free boat. That's a trap.
Yeah. I don't know if this is still the case, but for a very long time. So you think, okay, I can go and abandon my baby, right? It's too much for me. This is a screaming infant. I'm not ready for it. Go abandon the baby.
The boys in red. Give it to the calendar boys.
I believe it was Nebraska. It was someplace in the plains where you could do this up until the kid was 16.
That's great. You're a fireman now.
just driving your 16-year-old piece of shit kid across state lines
to go and dropping them off at the fire department and be like, I get out of the car. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, check it out. Your fire department. Vroom, vroom. Go. There's a fire truck. Honk, honk. Go.
Vroom. You get to steer the back of the truck now. It's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And obviously the kid's not the piece of shit in that, but it's just
No,
just like
it's a very funny idea.
driving somebody who can argue with you about it to the fire station to abandon them is very, very
It's
funny.
very good.
Yeah.
Like it's a very funny move. A little bit of irritating to me things. The firemen are playing chess in here, and the chessboard is like the White King loses in 3 moves.
Yeah.
As a thing. That's irritating. I understand that's, you got to have the chessboard in some kind of configuration, but like, I don't know. It's bait for people who watch shows to find stuff like that.
Yeah, so just anybody who sees it's like me when I see audio equipment in a show. I always kind of want to know what it is, and then there are people who, if they see a chessboard, they have to analyze the state that the board's in. Yeah,
it'd be like that if the audio equipment, though, obliquely underlined things that were the whole point of the series.
Yeah,
like having this little bit of cosmic symbolism here. Like we know the White King is checkmated.
Yeah.
It's the whole point of the episode. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't like that kind of thing. The fire department gets Holly.
Yeah.
So they can use her in all the puzzles in the future. We cut forward to Walt waiting for the vacuum for Saul's guy. At the wall, the red van pulls up, Walt gets in.
Yep.
And I love, when I first watched this episode, one of the things I love about it is that the show still has 2 more episodes. And it doesn't feel like it. Like I had no idea what this was going to be.
I mean, it's kind of like when you catch up to the president in Better Call Saul, right?
Yes. Yeah. Great, a great feeling, right? Like, he got in the fucking van. Like he's not going to get, I thought, like there could be like a chase. Like they try to catch him in, in Albuquerque, something like that. But like, no, he's going to get in the van.
Yep.
We're going to see that process, the disappear process. He's going to be safe. He fucking made it.
Yeah.
That's weird, right? And then we get to see what that looks like.
Yes.
Which I really love. The next episode gets some shit in these climax episodes because it's not quite as crowd pleasing, but I've got a real soft spot for Granite State. I love that episode.
I love it. The only way that it falls down is because it's in between 2 of the most impossible pieces of competition you could have. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of like quiet episodes, I think it is Walt getting his.
Oh, God,
in the way that people who, when the series ends and people are upset that Walt didn't get his, this is him getting his.
Oh, yeah.
As the next episode.
Yeah.
Great little bit of TV. Hard to overstate what it felt like on air.
I mean, even like this has to be like the 7th time I've seen this episode, something like that. And even then, like still fucking breathtaking in terms of just like the pacing and just the magnitude of the things that happen, but also like passes in a flash, right?
Yeah. It's like 3 scenes.
Yep.
It and they're all just very dense. So great shit.
Yeah.
Absolutely great shit. Very excited to get into the end of the series.
Yeah.
What can people do?
Well, if people like the show, they can back us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and kick us a few bucks a month. Get a whole bunch of bonus content. We're recording this pretty far ahead. I think this comes out at the end of May. There may or may not still be time to write in. If you have thoughts about season 5, go to, Duckfeed.tv/contact, click the best quality vacuum button and write in. There will be an announced deadline. And we're going to record that episode closer to when it airs to give people as much time as possible.
Yeah. And if you have thoughts about El Camino, we'll be covering that next.
Yes. And then moving right into Better Call Saul. Yeah.
Which I've only watched once. I'm really excited to watch it again.
Yeah.
Like 1.5. I watched the first 2 seasons, I think, twice. But
yes, yeah.
You can also leave us ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, wherever. You can post about us on internet when people are rewatching this.
Yeah,
have them rewatch it with us. Join us and thank our producer Gwen.
Thank you, Gwen.
Big thanks to Gwen. And do not use the fire department's "take a baby, leave a baby."
No.
Also, unless you have to.
Also, you can't just like leave yourself there and be taken in and be taken care of by firemen for the rest of your life.
Could a baby do it?
Yes.
A baby could do it. Like the baby from Roger Rabbit. Could show up at the fire department and be like, "Yeah, I'm a baby here. I've been abandoned." And then they'd have to take care of it.
It's got us on a technicality, I guess.
Yeah, the baby Herman fucking got us again. Menace to firemen.